get to it. So the first pick, they picked Terrion Arnold, and I thought the Terrion Arnold pick. I felt like he was one of the best corners in the draft next to Quinton Mitchell. I did like Quinton Mitchell. I think 1 and 2, they're both 1 and 2. I didn't think that Terrion Arnold was a third quarterback corner on the the board. I thought he was like the first or second. And when you read what Pro Football Focus had to say, overall they had him at 14th. They had him the third ranked in the position. They said Detroit trades up to acquire the 14th ranked player on the Pro Football Focus big board, in Alabama cornerback Terrion Arnold, who has an alpha presence in the secondary and plays with a fearless mentality. He led all SEC cornerbacks in interceptions and pass breakups in 2023. He also led the conference with a 90.6 PFF run defense grade. Detroit has officially overhauled its cornerback room with the additions of Arnold, Carlton Davis, and Amik Robertson. Goes on to say Detroit. That's the second part of it right there. But they graded the pick as an elite pick. I did like the pick. I thought it was really well orchestrated, and I just think that they did a damn good job of picking. You know, they did a damn good job picking Arnold and trading up to get him. And like I said before, I don't really care about the third round pick. The third round pick is moot because if Aaron Glenn gets a job next year, you're going to get a compensatory pick in the third round. There is potentially you can get more compensatory picks. I'm not really worried about the third round pick. If Terrion Arnold is a guy that can help you, you're not going to be worried about this pick at all. Actually, you're probably going to be like, I'll give the third round pick for a number one corner any day. And Brett Holmes did that. Brett Holmes has done it twice in this offseason. He traded for Carlton Davis and gave a third round pick. He traded up to get Terrion Arnold. He gave a third round pick. And when you think about it, you dropped 4 spots. You dropped a couple spots in the first round, and you gave a third round pick to get a number one corner. I don't see the issue with that. And if you see the issue with that, I'm curious to wonder what's your position on that. Because I feel like if you're going about it the right way and you're thinking about it the right way, Terrion Arnold was one of the better picks. And I thought it was interesting because, Brugler had a great piece on Terrion Arnold. Brugler ranked the Lions third in NFL draft with the players that they picked. His favorite pick was Terrion Arnold, cornerback, Alabama. He was number 10 on his board. Arnold was my highest graded defensive player in the entire draft, and the Lions were able to get him at 24. Aside from the talent he brings to the roster, the fit is what makes this one of my favorite picks. Arnold is one of the most competitive players in the draft class. He's ideally wired not just for a cornerback, but especially a Dan Campbell coach cornerback. Very interesting what Dane Brugler said in that little piece. That little at the end of it. A Dan Campbell cornerback. Because I think that not only is it a Dan Campbell type cornerback, but it's an Aaron Glenn type cornerback. Because if you look at the way that this Detroit Lions team has kept corners, they've kept corners that are, I felt like Jeff Okudah was a good corner, but he wasn't mentally, strong enough to be a corner on this roster. I feel like they kept a lot of guys on this roster that were more mentally prepared for the position. When you're playing, if you're in any sport, if you're a pitcher, you're going to let up home runs. You're going to let up hits. You're going to walk the batter. If you're a goalie in hockey, you're going to give up goals. Like, it's just the way it is. If you're a quarterback, you're going to throw interceptions. And if you're a cornerback in football, you're at a little bit of a disadvantage. You can't get as handsy as you used to be able to get handsy, and you're not able to you're not able to do some of the things that you want to do. And you've got to be mentally prepared to be in that position, because if you're not, 9 out of 10 times these corners will falter because of their own psyche. I feel like a lot of corners that are really talented corners, the reason that they fall in the draft, the reason that they fall if they fail in the NFL is because they're not mentally, they're not mentally strong. when things go wrong, they kind of get in their own heads. And if you've ever played those positions in any of those sports, once you get in your head, it's over. You're done. You're not going to come back from that. And I feel like Aaron Glenn and Dan Campbell, that's what they like about these corners. And I feel like with Meek Robertson, his attitude, Terrion Arnold, his attitude, Rakestraw, his attitude, Carlton Davis, his attitude, they all have the same mindset. Like they're going to be the best player that they could be. And that's what you want out of a corner. You don't want a corner that's going to question himself if he reads the wrong route and gets burnt. You want him to come out the next time and not allow that play to happen again. That's what a mentally strong corner does. Now, I thought some ESPN analysts had some really key things about Arnold that I really want to get to. Jordan Reed said, well, they asked, what was the best value pick in round one? He said Terrion Arnold, cornerback to the Lions. At number 24, getting the top-ranked quarterback corner on my board at number 24 was a huge deal for Detroit. For the second consecutive year, an Alabama defensive back somehow fell to the Lions. Last year, GM Brett Holmes was aggressive in adding Brian Branch, who fell further than expected, which ended up really, really great. The secondary of Aaron Glenn's defense was a clear weak point on the roster, but the Lions have attacked that shortcoming this offseason. Arnold, who had 5 interceptions last season, will be an immediate starter opposite Carlton Davis. And Matt Miller, who's a fantastic draft analyst. He said Miller said Terrion Arnold, the Lions can get. They were asking, can you make your early call for defensive rookie of the year? He says Lions can get after the quarterback and create opportunities for the defense backs to make plays. Arnold will reap the benefits of the pass rush with his ball hawking skills that allowed him to grab 5 interceptions at Alabama last season. Kind of stumble over my words a little bit, but you read those two different opinions on Terrion Arnold, and you look at a guy like Terrion Arnold who could be the early defensive player, the rookie of the year. I mean, that would be fantastic. And I think that Terrion Arnold is really going to put together a really good rookie campaign. And I think that the defense I think the pass rush is going to be better. And, with DJ Reader added to the ilk, I think that they're going to be a lot better. And it's going to help out, a guy like Terrion Arnold, who's a rookie. And it's going to help that he has a veteran on the other side. And they're probably going to have Meek Robertson out there at some point. But this secondary has been totally rehauled. And I think that, a guy like Terrion Arnold, I think he's going to do really well in this system. And it's credit to Brett Holmes just to trade up and get the guy because, look, you could have sat back and said, no, we'll get him. We'll wait till, 29 and wait for the best player to come to us. A lot of times, guys, it just doesn't work that way. And I wish it did, but, a lot of times it just don't work that way. So glad that Brett Holmes traded up to get Terrion Arnold.